Hello and welcome back to Open Hwoarang Lessons. This is the Season 4 Version 5 Hwoarang matchup changes, as a good number of characters did get slightly buffed and pretty nerfed. You're looking at one of them right now. But of course, I'm not going to be covering all changes, only the changes you see on screen right now. So there's slight changes for certain matchups and major changes for certain matchups, or at least what I think. So again, take it with a grain of salt. All right, let's jump into it. The first on our list is Yoshimitsu. Now, Yoshimitsu's Wall Crush is pretty good on block. Sort of. I don't know, I've just seen a bunch of Twitter tech of a lot of unblockable setups. And that's something to keep in mind when playing against Yoshimitsu when your back is really close to the wall. And F1+2 is now a counter hit launcher. It kind of operated like Jack's FF1 on block similarly. But if you press a button in between, unlike Jax, you're not going to just get knocked down into a guaranteed follow-up. You're going to get hit for a full combo, and your butt could eventually be at the wall, and that'll be in tandem with the wall crush again. That's just a slight change in this matchup, and you just have to watch out for those two things. Next on our list is Steve Fox. Here, Steve loses DF1-2 to knock down at the wall for guaranteed follow-up in F1+2, or down 1+2. Or down back 2, whichever, as it now becomes his wall crush on hit. So it becomes another mix-up, and you're going to guess between QCF1 and down back 3-2, most likely. And they reduced the whiff recovery on QCF1, so more room to whiff punish this move on reaction. That's about it. Next is Jack. Now, of course, there's only one thing here. It says damage buffs. But of course, Jack's blue sparks, Hwoarang was never punishing that. I was never punishing that. It was -11 on block. 4-3 usually never reached anyway, even if your back was against the wall, so yeah, with the pushback. So it's negligible for it to become safe against Hwoarang, but for other characters it's a little bit different. So a lot of this is combo damage buffs, like DF1-1 counter hit launching, while standing 1 into up 1+2, etc. Stuff like that. So the matchup is more or less the same, but if you're bad at the Jack matchup, and you keep getting hit, oh, it's gonna hurt a lot. Next is Asuka Kazama. She did get a lot of buffs. 1-3 in particular is now a natural 10-frame punish. So if you do RFS back 3 on block, Asuka will get a 1-3 all the time and be 0 on hit, instead of Asuka only getting the 1 jab, and that was pretty negligible. So they would always go for a mix-up. They would go for F1 or whatever. They'd maximize the frames. Here, they don't need to do that anymore. Her punch Sabaki, the 2+3, now crumple stuns on launch similar to back 2+3. So if the Asuka catches you throwing out jabs, the combo is a lot easier for them and does way more damage, as a couple of her wall enders did get buffed, including DF3. So you just have to watch out for those things. Next is Feng Wei. Feng Wei did get some nerfs, so that kind of eases it a little bit, as DF4-3 no longer wall splats. It does say it wall crushes in the patch notes, but every other reference I've checked and every other player who's tested it can't get DF4-3 to wall splat or wall crush at all. So that's good news when your back is against the wall. 1+2, the punch parry, or Sabaki, no longer knocks down for like a guaranteed Iron Fortress to the back 1+2 shoulder. So that's great. And the wall crush unblocks a power crush. So of course, once your back is against the wall, you could mash low or grab. But of course, you're going to charge it up, right? So you just have to watch out for that, for those situations in particular. But for the most part, DF4-3 and 1+2 getting nerfed is pretty good. Lili is basically the Magic 4, so it's how Magic 4 is going to be used in tandem with movement. And since, again, 4-1 is high, you could down jab it or react to it. But if the Lili just simply does a 4 and you're OSing with a down jab, they're going to do a standing 4 into low parry. So you just, again, play it by ear. Next is Leo. The main changes here is DF2 launching crouchers, and while standing 2 becoming a 15-frame while standing launcher. So Leo, in this matchup, their punishment is going to be very consistent. No need to wait out and be like, hey, did Hwoarang do down back 3 and it whiffed? Should I throw out DF2, hop kick, FF2? Will DF2 catch when down back 3 is no longer recovering crouching? You don't have to worry about stuff like that anymore. Next is Alisa. Her wall crush is on running 2. And if you've seen the tech that IMOP has posted, you'll know that when you're waking up at the wall, you just gotta be very careful, as Alisa and Claudio will get your back and potentially launch you for bigger damage. So it makes waking up at the wall a little bit difficult. And then F1+2 is now 14 frames and it knocks down on hit. It's a short whiff punisher, but if you're playing against an Alisa who's got it on point, it's gonna hurt a lot. Most especially if you're in Forgotten Realm, it's gonna floor break. Claudio, it's just the running too. So it's the same thing as I mentioned with Alisa. Make sure when you're getting up at the wall, post-wall combo, that's about it. You just gotta be very, very careful. Now, Katarina did get a lot of good things. It's most especially DF1 and DF1-1 being -1 and -4 on block. So that's more room to press buttons in those situations. FCDF4 is now -14 on block. It used to be -16 and Hwoarang was launching Katarina for that. Now Hwoarang will only get a wall standing 3 into FF3 or back 3. And her wall crush is safe with back 1-2 at -8 on block. And that's mid-mid. So as soon as you're at the wall, expect the Katarina to do back 1-2. And as soon as you block it, right, since it's -8, try to create as much space as possible. Maybe throw out a JFSR and then step left or step right, depending on the wall situation you're at. Next is Lucky Chloe. This is basically mainly damage buffs. If Lucky Chloe did back 3 and went to back turn, there wasn't really any option she could do to follow up for extra damage. But now since it's closer on counter hit, she can get back turn 4, I believe, or 3, one of the two. FCDF2 now knocks down on counter hit, so there's that. That's extra damage for another back 1 follow-up into running 3 or running 3+4 Okizeme. And FCDF1, this move used to be -14 on block. It is now -13 on block, making it safer in the Hwoarang matchup. All Hwoarang gets now is while standing 4-4. Yeah, no more while standing 3. It's the same thing with Katarina. Next is the Josie matchup. Josie's F4-3 is a wall crush on hit and it is hit confirmable. So in neutral, you're gonna see Josie's throwing out F4 or like fishing for F4. Be careful about that. Down 4 on counter hit is crazy. It's like Dragonov's down 2. And since F3+4's reach has been increased, if you press a button in that situation, you're gonna get counter hit. And switch 3 used to be -1 on block, so you had leeway to move. But now you have lesser leeway. You can still challenge, but I'd advised against it now since it is +2. Like, Josie can do way more in that situation. Against Master Raven, this matchup is a little bit... It eases up a little more as back 2 and back turn 1+2 no longer knock down. And there's a bunch of combo damage nerfs. So if you get hit by a combo, you'll live a little bit longer. You probably have 2 or 3 more situations before your HP depletes to 0. Next is the Bears. The main change here is the down back 2 on counter hit. Because it's now like Dragonov's as well on counter hit when the low connects. And that can transition to hunting as well, and you have to respect those frames. You can't really challenge that. Up forward 3-4, the Bears hunting hawk. You roll mix-ups at the wall. It's not like Kings, so you have to block the 50-50. And DF1+2, if you're caught stepping and you're not sidestep blocking or sidewalk blocking, it's a big counter hit launcher. It's quite slow at 20+ frames, but still something to keep note of. Next is Geese. This character got big nerfs. As you can see, DF2 no longer launches on counter hit. It's only a wall crush. SS3, no more combo on counter hit, just plus frames. And the mid parry on a successful mid parry is now only +14. So Geese needs meter to get a full combo off it. And that gives Hwoarang more leeway in neutral and on the defensive side. So if you're pressuring and you do while standing 4-4 into RFF-DF4, the Geese mid parries, all you're gonna do is get hit by back 3-2 or another follow-up. I don't know the input. Basta the one that knocks down. Anna. Now Anna did get a new input for her rage drive. It's DF2+3, I believe. And that's a 15-frame launcher in rage. So it's like Steve Fox. So if you press something that was -15 or you whiff, it's easy access already. And it's for other situations as well. So if you're ducking on DF1, 2, 3, again, that launches on natural hit. So it's a lot more, this big guessing games all around. But that string in particular is -13. So at best, you're still getting a 4-3 or a 4F4. Take your pick on the 11-frame punish. Next is Lei Wulong. Snake 4-1 is now +3. His pseudo down 3-4 of Hwoarang. Drunken 4-1+2 is natural. And Drunken back 1+2 is the wall crush on block. And you have to respect that. It's also like +10. Same with the Bears. Wall crush, the hunting hawk. And play dead is now, or dead play. I don't know. I was looking at Lei resources. That's what it said. It's now safe, the homing kick. So you're not getting a punish for that anymore. But you still get frames to work with, so you could do a down 3-4 or a JFSR right after you block, play dead 4. Next is Julia. Massive nerfs all around for this character, so you have more leeway, just like Geese. As FF1+2 no longer wall bounce, it's only wall splat, so if the Julia wants to get more damage, they'd have to resplat. Forward 3 into 4, you know, the stance to the low kick, that's -12. No longer counter hit launches, it only knocks down on counter hit. And there's damage nerfs all around. I didn't show it here, but there's damage nerfs all around. So after every follow-up on counter hit or for combos, damage is significantly decreased. And while standing 3 is now her wall crush, no more knockdown on hit, which is great. You stay alive and you can, you know, operate more in neutral because, you know, wall crushes on hit, they have massive pushback. I know Hwoarang mains love that. F4-1 no longer wall splats at all, even if it's hit confirmable. All they get is a backdash into War Drum, so watch out for that specific setup. And FCD of 4-3, the bow and arrow, you can just tech. Nothing to worry about. Down 1+2 is not going to catch you. FF3 is not going to catch you. FF2 is not going to catch you. They do get the F3 Okizeme immediately, or just simple dash in. So yeah, that makes the matchup a lot more easier for Hwoarang. Still slightly skewed in Julia's favor, but Hwoarang can do more stuff now. Next is Leroy Smith. This is great. So if with Julia and Geese, it got better, all the more it got better for Hwoarang. As back 1+2 in the parry follow-up for Leroy is -10 on block. The jab string, full jab string is now a wall crush. And you know what that means? It doesn't knock down anymore, including back 4, the homing mid kick. Back 3 no longer launches, it only knocks down. And FF2-2 is now -15 on block. I mean, you've seen Leroy's fish for this, or like far out in range and they want to approach for a launch. They're like, yeah, if it hits, that's great, right? Now they can't do that. This is a big risk if they do that. And -15, since there's no pushback, DF2 is always going to launch this move. And there's a lot of recovery, increased +3 frames of recovery for specific stances or moves that transition to Hermit, so which means you can easily interrupt that. And for the orbital heal, which makes it a lot easier to whiff punish, similar to Steve's QCF1 getting frames on recovery. Next is Fahkumram. This character also got nerfed a ton. No more magic 4. That's a big deal. Down back 4 and FF1+2 are now -15. That's the low and the mid launcher respectively. The jab strings now the wall crush. That means no more knockdown on hit and no more follow-ups after back 1. If you get hit by back 1, just back roll. Just hold back and your character will back roll. And 3+4 is now -11 with no pushback. So 4-3, 4-4, 4F4, all consistent every time Fahkumram throws this out. There are other changes here. There's like frame changes, counter hit changes, all that kind of stuff. But these are the main ones that ease up the Hwoarang Fahkumram matchup. Next is Kunimitsu, back 2. Back 1+2 and SS2 no longer knockdown on hit, which is great. However, back 2 is still -10 on block. It didn't get increased to -12. Kind of figured they'd do that. So going back to back 2, it's now the wall crush on hit, which is, you know, good. And while standing 1-1 is now -12 on block. So they can't just throw out a free mid string to just check if you're ducking or whatnot. And last but not the least is Lidia. A lot of stuff here. In short, the first 4 points are the biggest ones, as F2-4s at 12 frames no longer knocks down and hit. F1+2, the whole string on the second, the third, and last hit are all -14 on block. It's also her wall crush, so that means no more knockdown on hit, which is great. What you used to do before, as soon as you blocked F1+2, you went into neutral guard and started mashing 1, and that was an OS. Now, you just swap that to a 4-3+4, flashing trident, or 4-3, take your pick. Now, the Hellsweep clean hit range alongside the stance low have been made shorter, so Lidia really has to be up close and personal to Hwoarang to get that clean hit, which is good news. SS4 no longer launches on hit. It's the same thing with Leroy's back 3, just knocks down. And of course, there were a bunch of frame nerfs and damage nerfs. So even if you get hit by something you could challenge, and if you got hit by something combo-wise, you probably would be alive for 1 or 2 or 3 more situations. So that was pretty fast. That wraps up the matchup changes here for Hwoarang in Season 4 version 5. Again, take all of it with a grain of salt, because maybe I didn't discuss some of the matchups that you think did get changed. Maybe that could be Brian's FF3 wall crush, Dragonov's FF3 wall crush, etc, etc, etc. That'll close out the second bonus episode for Open Hwoarang Lessons. Again, that has been the cheese for today. I've been Frontier, and as always, thank you for watching. The third thing is that not all mids will give you the results you desire. So F1+2 is a pretty good option, right? I would go for it as well in this situation. So I'm gonna mash. There's no counter hit. That's a shame.